Hi, welcome to Sheepish, episode 38. Today is Sunday, May 18th, 2014, and I'm Holly. So, how is everyone? It's been a couple of weeks since we last talked. I recorded right after Sheep and Wool, and yeah, it's been a busy couple of weeks as per usual. One of these weeks, I'm going to say it's been an easy week, and yeah, but that's not this week. So I hope you guys have had a great week and it's not been nearly as stressful. Um, just a quick note: if I am playing with my new microphone. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw when I received my blue snowball microphone. So if the sound quality is any better, that's why. I'm hoping it is. It sounds good to me when I'm doing tests, but I definitely want to hear back from you guys. I've been meaning to get an external mic for probably a year or so now. While the mic on my webcam is good, it's not great. Oh, and if you look, whoops, over there, you can see a George. And he's running away. So, yeah. So let me know what you think about that. And let's get started. So what's happening Chez Sheepish? Well, I've decided that I got a wild hair up my butt and we need to do something in the group. So what we're going to do is I am going to hold another knit along. And part of this goes with if you don't follow the blog, so sheepishpodcast.com, in a feed reader, like Feedly there are a ton of other ones. Like I use Feedly for all my blogs and most of my video podcasts. Though I watch them on Downcast, but we'll talk about that later. But if you're not following that, you should. Simply because I do things occasionally. I do things and I post things on there that don't make it onto Ravelry or iTunes. The other night, I posted a tutorial on putting in waste yarn in afterthought heels, or for socks with afterthought heels. I am doing a Socks 201 class, or I've turned that class into a series of private lessons with, I believe, Nicole. Her Ravelry name, I think, is Nick DC. And yeah, I had taught a toe-up sock class at Fiberspace a while ago, a few months ago. Excuse me. Sorry for that break there. I just had a coughing fit, and as you can hear, I'm still kind of froggy. But so I had taught a toe-up sock class, which is done on worsted weight yarn, and it can be converted to a Christmas stocking pattern. And during that class, I was also teaching, or I wasn't teaching, I was knitting on a toe-up sock with an afterthought heel on fingering weight yarn. And the class overwhelmingly said that they wanted to take a Socks 201 kind of a class that would teach that. So a basic vanilla sock, how to make it fit you. So going over a bit of the math. And how to put in that afterthought heel, how to pick it up, how to bind off, with super stretchy bind offs. Well, only Nicole signed up for that class, which, hi Nicole, I heart you. So that's all well and good. But we turned that into a series of private lessons, which is good because it means that I can kind of flesh out more of what I'm doing with it. Plus, I love doing private lessons. I love doing the one-on-one. But anyway, that's all to say that I got Nicole started on, we did some of the basic math for her sock. She actually came in with Bigfoot knits, which I've been meaning to check out, and did a ton of math in there. But when you've never done toe-up socks before, it can get a little overwhelming. So we backed it back to some basic math for your foot. And got her started. And so we were trying to figure out if we needed to really meet this week to put waste yarn in. And it's waste yarn. It's a fairly easy thing to do. But on that first sock, it can get a little daunting. Like, oh my goodness, is this really going to do what is it really going to hold the stitches? Is it going to stay? Is it not going to fall out? So I decided when I got my sock up to that point that I was going to go ahead and do a tutorial on putting waste yarn in. So I did. And it was late at night, probably not the best thing, not the greatest lighting. But it's a 5-minute video that I uploaded to YouTube. I decided not to put them on iTunes, but they will be embedded into posts on the blog. So I did that, and I got some good feedback on it, so that's great. And so I've decided that that's what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to do more of those. So hopefully my next one will be how to take out waste yarn, how to take out that waste yarn, get the stitches back on needles, and get started with the afterthought heel. Complete with Kitchener, but I might do the Kitchener video separate. What do you think? So yeah, there is that. And I am also planning on putting a poll up there. I'll put one up in the Rav group as well. But I am planning on doing a knit along. Oops, sorry. I am planning on doing a knit along that encompasses June, July, and August. So the hottest months of the year here in the Northern Hemisphere. Also some of the hottest and muggiest months of the year in the DC area. And really any place along the eastern seaboard that's fairly close to water is going to be unbearable during those times of year. But it's when I started knitting in that kind of weather voluntarily, not on a deadline, that I realized that I was a knitter with a capital K. So really, what do you guys knit on? I am thinking of doing a knit along. Well, I've just announced it, that for covering June, July, August. And what do you work on? So not even knitting. So what do you plan on knitting, crocheting, spinning, stitching? What will you do during these hot summer months? And we'll go ahead and we'll do that craft along all throughout, and we'll post. I'll set up a thread. So I'll set up like an opening chatter thread on the group on Rav, and then I will set up a picture thread, and at the end of those 3 months I even have a prize all ready to and set up to go. I just need to find it so I can photograph it. At the end of the month, or those 3 months, the winner will get a sweater's worth of yarn. Yes. It's Toshmo Light. I forget what colorway it is. I think it's parchment. I'm not sure, but I think it is. Yeah, I can't wear it. It's got mohair in it. But somebody else can, and it is a sweater's worth. I got this as part of the sweater club the last time around. And I bought for the 3X size because I wanted to make sure I had plenty of yarn to do whatever I wanted with. So, yeah. That is going to be a prize. I will take a picture of that, get that up on both the blog and on Ravelry so you guys can see what's going up. And let's get started. I want to hear what you're going to do. I want to see what you guys finish. Just because summer can be brutal. Summer can be brutal here. I can imagine what it's like in the Southern Hemisphere. But it can be brutal. And if you are in the Southern Hemisphere and watching, throw your cold weather stuff in. I know that we're not one flat place. So whatever you guys are crafting on, whether it's summer stuff in the Northern Hemisphere or winter stuff in the Southern Hemisphere, I want to see what it is. Yeah. And I figured that a sweater's worth of yarn when you were going into fall here in the, in the Northern Hemisphere will always be welcome. And even when you're going into, when you're going into spring in the Southern Hemisphere, that'll sit and stash and marinate for a while. So yeah. So let's get started with the current roster. So currently, again, some of you have seen this if you follow me on Instagram. Sorry about the rustling. I have things to refer to over here. And this is living in my bird legs bag. So it's the wedge bag. It's got birds on it, and you guys know how I feel about birds, especially since, I have some on my back. And this is out. Oops. Oh, that's beautiful. This is the Biscotte et Chez. I'm probably butchering that. Felix self-striping yarn. Let me see if I can find the label, because I had this living with another project and I know I've got the label here somewhere. Okay, I do. So, and it's Princesse et les sept Mâles. Best I can translate to that is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the princess and seven something or others. I couldn't figure out what male was, so princess and seven men, but that's not really male. Anyway, so it is the Felix self-striping, so it's 80/20 merino nylon, and it's 384 yards. And it's just a lot of lovely. I really like knitting with this yarn. I wasn't sure at first, but I fell in love with the hand so very quickly on that. Plus, I love how it's striping up. So this may be Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or whatever they're calling it. But yeah, it's Ernie. Or really, I think I'm going to call this Rubber Ducky. I posted this on Instagram when it was all the way back here. And my friend Kathy said that it reminded her of Ernie's sweater. At which point, when I read that, I started humming and singing Rubber Ducky. Yeah. And so ever since then, I've picked this up. Whenever I'm picking it up, I start humming Rubber Ducky without really realizing it. And then realizing it and going, oh crap. So you can see here that I have waste yarn in for my afterthought heel. I have the tails on the outside because that's going to make it easier for me. Some people like to put them on the inside. Depends on how I'm feeling that day. And really, I'm almost done. I'm at a point where I need to decide how much longer I'm going to make it. And you can see here that I've pulled off a ton of yarn to finish off the rib and the bind off. And that's because I want to get the second sock started. So I'm going to grab another pair of needles, because Lord knows I've got tons of them, and I'm going to cast on for the second sock. So yeah. So it's a nice long sock. It's my Rubber Ducky sock. And if you don't know the Rubber Ducky song, you so need to look it up. Growing up as a child in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, that tells you how old I am. There was a lot of Sesame Street that was watched in my house. And a big appreciation for the Muppets. So, yeah. And whenever I think of Ernie, well, I think of Bert, but, I also think of Rubber Ducky. Rubber Ducky, you're the one. Da-da-da-da. Yeah. See. So that's living in that bag. And I love it muchly. I will be casting on for that second sock soon. Probably later today. because I'm loving how that's working out. And one of the reasons, I'll go back to, one of the reasons why I broke it off where I did. So where the yellow goes into, if you can see that, the yellow goes into the red, or it's starting to go into the red, is because of where I started. And really, I could have taken out most of the red too. But where I started my Judy's Magic cast on, I started it where the yellow and the red met. So right at the color change from red to yellow. So I sacrificed a lot of red in this, or in the first stripe, because I want to make sure that my stripes match up. I'm anal retentive. Hi, have we met? So that's why I made sure that I had plenty left to do the bind off with, without going into where I would need to start. Now, granted, I could have just left it on and just kept going and through about midway through the red, but yeah. So yeah, that's living in my bird leg bags. And let's see, what else did I have on the needles last time? That I'm going to put aside. So yeah, that's really currently all that's being worked on right now. Which means that, you know, we have a new addition to the alumni roster. Yeah. Now, ends are not woven in because I am lazy. But my April Saki socks are done. Yay! These are short socks because I totally cheated and wanted to just get the April socks done and off the needles. But if I hold them up like that, you can see they're pretty much, they're not identical, but they're darn close. And that makes me happy. The bind off, well, you can see on this one, which is my second one, I have more of the green than I do on this one. I'm okay with that. And they're comfortable. They're a little loose on me. These are my standard 64 stitch socks. They're just vanilla socks. Fish Lips Kiss Heel. Here we go. So yeah, that's Fish Lips Kiss Heel. And I think that whenever I'm doing the Fish Lips Kiss Heel, I probably should just go ahead and move these down to 60 stitches. Because they're just a smidge big. Just a smidge. Won't stop me from wearing them because they're absolutely wonderful. So if you don't know, these are Knitter's Nightmare. Sadie, who's the hostess of the Yarnivore podcast, also owns Knitter's Nightmare. And this is her Boogeyman sock. So 75/25 merino nylon. It's the screwed up Thank You for Being a Friend colorway. And again, it's one of those that I always sing. Thank you for being a friend. And I have yet to figure out why it was screwed up. But this is how much I have left of these. Now, granted, I did make these short, but I still would have a lot left over. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Get back to my barn raising squares, make a hexapuff. I'm going to have tons left over. So, but I love this. I don't know why the first sock felt like it was a slog. Because I zoomed through the second sock. And I love the base. I love the hand. I love the colors. Holy crap, do I love the colors. And they're not anything that I would normally buy. So, yay. So there is that. Whoops, let me find a place to put these. Okay, they'll go down there. And also on the finished roster, on the alumni roster. Again, if you follow me on Instagram, you saw this in progress. So this is my Never Enough Time Wildflower Bat. So the bag. This is a merino bamboo, 3.4 ounces. And this I won at the Highlands on the Fly retreat last October. So yeah, this was a 2-ply. And I actually have a ton left over from my 2-ply. So I don't know, because I guess I spun the second half. Well, I think I had a little bit more. I thought that I divided these evenly. I'd measured them. I'd weighed them. I thought that I divided them evenly. But I have that much left. And so I have a spare plastic bobbin. And this took ages to wind. Like, this took me some time. And this is not just a thin coat, like a thin wrap on the bobbin itself. Where is my... I know I have an empty one around here somewhere. Couldn't tell you where it is. Oh, there it is. So I don't know if you can kind of see, but this is much thinner than this. Yeah. So I've got a lot of yardage here in a single that's very, very fine. This may be the thinnest I've ever spun. Of course, that's not really indicative. But it's fairly consistent. Okay, really? There we go. That's fairly consistent of how, I mean, I had a few splotchy areas, like I had a few areas where it just kind of like, but yeah. Apparently when you spin using the fast whirl, you get fine yarn. I hadn't really played with the whirls, so I didn't know. But I spun all of that using my fast whirl on my ladybug, and I plied it because I heard somewhere that if you use, like if you use a fast whirl when you spin, you should use your medium whirl when you ply. So I did that. It seemed like the thing to do. And I've got a fairly fluffy yarn. Okay, you can kind of see it back there. That does do this thick and thin. So there are places where I've definitely spun it, plied it a little tighter. But overall, I'm really happy with how it came out. I hope the person who receives this will also be happy. It needs to be skeined and washed. And then I will gift that to the person who has been begging for it since I got it, since I got the bat. And you can see here that I had these white areas, so these undyed areas within the bat, which were really, really slippery. I didn't have a problem with most of this. It actually wanted to spin really fine. It wanted to, I mean, it spun like butter. Oh my God, it was wonderful. And it was easy to keep tension on it. So I really liked the combination of the merino bamboo. But when I got to these white bits, which I'm guessing are pure bamboo because they actually felt different, they were a pain in the rear to spin. It kept breaking. It would go super fine and break off, and then it wouldn't want to start again. It wouldn't want to wrap onto itself. So, but overall, I love it. I love how this turned out. It's squishy. It's a 2-ply. It's squishy. I love it. I hope that Michelle loves it too. So yeah, Michelle, it's yours. It's done. Yay! I just need to wash it and hang it out because it's gorgeous. I mean, it's warm. Or it's getting warm here. But it's lately been slightly cool, and even when it's warm, it's been breezy. So I can put it out on the wash line and just let it dry that way. I need to do that with I still need to skein off. You guys saw this last time, I think. Maybe not. Maybe I just put it on Instagram. I don't know. But this is these are my fibery tribbles from Gourmet Stash in the Undisclosed Emerald Nightmares. Undisclosed Emerald Dreams colorway. Wow, I'm still stuck on Knitter's Nightmare. But I need to skein this up. So this is 3 2-ounce bags, so 6 ounces total. And this is a very full skein, or a very full bobbin. And I really don't want to put this on the Nitty Knotty, because that's going to hurt. My shoulder's already hurting with the thought of that. I may set up my ball winder and do it the getaway and just spin it around my skein winder. Or it's not a skein winder. It's a Swift. So I may set it up that way. Wind it off into a cake on my ball winder, and then take that and wrap it around my Swift. We'll see. I have a decent Swift for it. I mean, it's got pegs, and it's a tabletop Swift. I've got an umbrella one too, but that one's kind of crap because it's old and it doesn't want to stay in one spot. It'll loosen itself up. So I got myself a tabletop Swift. Really, really inexpensive, but it's actually really accurate in how big a skein is. So I can set it to 2 yards easily. So yeah, there is that. So we have something that's gone to the not really injured reserve. It's really just been, I bought out the contract as it would be in hockey talk. So you guys remember this. This is the Into the World in the Mercy Hardigan colorway. This is the Gloucester. It is a 2-ply sock. And I forget, I believe it's an 80-20. Don't quote me on that. But this was a vanilla sock. It is no longer a vanilla sock. I wasn't feeling it. I love the yarn, but I just wasn't feeling it. And I think that part of it's because I didn't expect it to stripe. So that, I ripped it out last night, recaked it. I'm not bothering to wash it. It hasn't really been in there long enough for it to really affect the yarn, I think. And really, they're going to be socks. They're going to go on my feet. I know. This is where I'm like, do as I say, not as I do. Sorry about that. I just need to get rid of that bag. So that's currently living in my other small bird piddle loop bag. But I think I know what I'm going to do with it. So scouting report. I've been buying up patterns like nobody's business lately. And I decided that since these actually have a hidden stripe in them, and they may not in this sock pattern, I may rip them out again. But I've decided that I'm going to do the Mystic Spiral socks. So by Josh Ricks, who is sort of a knitter on Ravelry and has a podcast. I don't currently listen, but I will because, hi, I need more. This is just the front page of it, so it's not really giving anything away. And I've seen so many of these knit up that I kind of want to see how it works. And everybody's promised that it's potato chip knitting. I could use some potato chip knitting. Also, when I downloaded the sock, because I was like, Mystic Spiral, the way it was spelled, I was just like, that's the name of the band in Daria. Because if, again, you are a child who, if you're a teenager in the 90s, when MTV used to still show music videos and things like Beavis and Butthead and Daria were appointment watching because they were so different and they had so much to do with the music. I immediately went there. And then I saw here where he's saying, these socks are named after the band Mystic Spiral from the Daria TV series. They have to be knit. I loved Daria. For a while there, I had Daria as an option for a voice on my GPS. When I got my new GPS, the voice didn't carry over. My Eddie Izzard voice did, but not the Dario one. So I'm going to have to see if I can buy that one again. But yeah. So I think those are going to go on the needles soon. Just to give me a break from vanilla sock knitting. But I really do love those socks, so we'll see. Also on the scouting report, there have been utensils and yarn. So, first up, I went on to the Woolery a couple weeks ago. Right before I plied all of this. So I guess you guys haven't seen this plied. You saw the finished bobbin of the last one, I think. Anyway, so right before I plied all of this, I went on the Woolery's website, and I can make do with, or no, maybe, no, I did ply this. Wow. Sorry for all the going back and forth. No, I did ply this because I plied this using the onboard Lazy Kate on my Ladybug, and that's where I decided maybe I need to try a separate Lazy Kate. One of the things that annoyed me about this with the onboard Lazy Kate is that you're pulling from the front. And while the bobbins are under tension, and that's wonderful, you're pulling from the front. And so you're putting extra stress on that. And if you've got a finer spot in one of the singles than the other, you're putting some pressure on that. And I haven't figured out how to alleviate that going from the front. So I decided that I was going to look at the Lazy Kates and just price them. Because, I think Shock's offboard Lazy Kate was like $69, $70, maybe. I could be totally wrong on that. I was looking at that. I was looking at a few others, and I remember seeing this one, the one that I ended up going with, on someone's podcast once upon a time. It may have been Karen from Round the Twist, but I know that I saw another one that was on the Woolery website on hers, so I don't know if she has a couple. But yeah. But I got the Jumbo Katia Go-Go. So you can see here that it's a 3-bobbin setup. It'll fit jumbo flyers on there, jumbo bobbins on there, not that I have any. But it tensions them up, which is nice. And it comes in this nice little package. Everything fits in. So you can see here, I've got everything nicely packed away. I'm not going to pull it out because then that means I'm going to have to take it. Yeah. So I got that. And while I was on there, I decided that my flyer on my Ladybug has had, one of the hooks on the flyer has been loose ever since I got it. I'd say about 5 months ago or so, it flew off. Like, I have no clue where it is. It probably got vacuumed up by now. But no clue. It just disappeared. So, I've been using my bug without it. It hasn't made a huge difference, but it has been nice to I've missed being able to fill up that area of the bobbin really nicely. So I decided to see if there were hooks available. And they had them on the Woolery, and you can get them individually. I think they were like 35 cents. So I did get that, and I put it in, and I was very, very happy that my flyer has all of its hooks again. What I need to do is I think I need to just put some super glue on it and super glue it in so it doesn't go anywhere. All of my hooks are moving around now. And part of me, I don't know if they're supposed to move around, like with a little bit of movement. But honestly, if they're all moving around and they're going to start flying off, I'd rather just have them stationary and set in there. So I got that. And then I got these bobbins. I got 3 of them. So 3 of these Bobbins Up bobbins, and they are by archywear.net. I don't think you're actually going to see. Oh, you might be able to. And they were $5 a piece. And one of the things that I liked about them is that they have this part that fits onto a drill bit. It's basically a drill bit. It goes right in your bobbin, and you can use it to wind this. So I had an electric driver or a wireless driver, cordless driver, and it was nice and charged, and so I used this to put on there. Now, I have 3 of them. Oops. This one does not have the center option for this reason, because I started off with this. Now, can you see what happened? Yeah. Should have the other piece up there. No, that's the real drill bit. Hi, I podcast. You would think that I'd be more prepared. Yeah, that should be on there. And while, yes, I can super glue it back on and all will be well, these are plastic. I really, whoops, I can't super glue it back on if I've lost that bit. Oops. I don't know if I was just going too fast, putting too much stress on it. It shouldn't have. I mean, this should be, I think that this part should be a harder plastic than it is. Because, yeah, I can make a dent in it with my fingernail. So this part should be a harder plastic than it is. I was a little worried when I put the second one in that it would do the same thing. And you can actually see, I'm noticing it now. Take a look at that. Take a look at the collars on both of those. You can see that on this one, there's a little bit of, okay, I'm going to turn this around so you can see what I can see. Whoops. So see on this one that there's a bit of white around that. That's how this started. If somebody could make this bit in metal, I would be all over these, or wood. I think metal would work better. Yeah. So while I like the fact that I have this on here, I'm not happy that I had to go through a couple of these. And I will actually let archywear.net know, because I don't think that that should have happened. Do I like the concept of them? Absolutely. I love the idea of $5 bobbins that are plastic that have that drill bit. And they just needed, yeah. It was an experiment. Like I said, I'm not pleased with the drill bit part. But yeah. So I got those as well. So that takes care of the woolery. But also, as you know, I am in the Snapshots from Maine Yarn Club. Oh, whoops. And it was that time of the month. So this was Heather's inspiration photo. If you don't know what that is maple sap being harvested for syrup. So this was taken at Bob's Sugar House in Dover, Foxcroft, Maine. And it came with a very delicious maple sugar candy. And so this was done on or around Maine Maple Sunday. And again, Heather included a nice essay on it. all that to get to this bit. So this is the white ash worsted, which is 100% fine count wool. It's 245 yards, and it's a single, and it is in the Sweet Sap colorway. Now, I'm interested to see how this came out on sock yarn, but it's lovely. It's soft. It's a little prickly for me, but I'm also weird, so. Heather, it's beautiful. Bean green still might be my favorite, or my second favorite. Faded flannel still my favorite. But this is up there, out of the 4. So this is beautiful. Thank you, Heather. It's been fun, just like waiting and anticipation of all of the new color each month. So, and then I got this Stitch Dictionary. So this is by Wendy Bernard, Up, Down, All Around Stitch Dictionary, because who doesn't need another Stitch Dictionary? And I love the layout of it. So I'm just going to show you a random one. It is a spiral bound Stitch Dictionary, which makes me happy. You've got very clear, if I can focus this, you've got clear pictures as to what it should look like. You've got your flat instructions written out, and in the round instructions with your charts for both. I love that concept. Primarily because when I look through a Stitch Dictionary, I'll fall in love with something knit, and it's knit flat. And then I generally have to do a little bit of thinking and working it up to try and make sure that I understand what it needs, how the instructions need to change in the round. Which, no, it's not very hard to do. It's more that it's an annoyance and I'd rather have somebody else do it. But I'm really glad that she did that. I can't wait to just dive in. I can tell you that I'm going to probably design a pair of socks using a stitch pattern or two from that book. So that's still not all. Actually, this is kind of a light week. You guys have been here for the really heavy weeks. So Lollipop Yarns, I follow her on Twitter. And she posted that she had sent out a box to one of the local yarn stores in the area, Looped in DC. Now, I don't go to Looped for much. If I want Addies for some reason, they're the ones that I'll go to because they've got them. Most of the yarn I can either get online or what, because I just don't like going down there. For the reason that it's hard to find parking. It really is. They are in the DuPont Circle area of the city, and finding parking can sometimes be a pain, a huge pain in the butt. And since I don't live close enough, see, I live on the Virginia side. So there's Virginia, Maryland, DC. I don't live close enough to a metro station where I can just hop on and switch over to the red line. So I'd be getting on, depending on the metro station, the yellow, blue, or orange. And then I have to switch over to the red line to get to DuPont. Yeah. One day I'll show you a DC metro map. And so I drive. And driving down there is a pain to do just to find parking. So I don't go very often. But when I heard that, I thought that I needed to make the trek down. Now, I'm super busy at work, so I couldn't get there when the box got there. So I went that next Saturday. So I think it got there like on a Tuesday. That Saturday I went. You would think that there would be a lot left over. No, it's Lollipop. Like her updates, they go quickly. I've never been able to score on a Lollipop yarn update. And now I've just kind of done the if I get lucky, I'll get lucky. If I don't, I'm not gonna. So, Looped still had a few skeins left. So I finally got me some lollipop yarn. Self-striping fun for your feet in the Wild Thing colorway. So Madcap Mango, Foolish Fuchsia, Dotty Daffodil, all with Crazy Charcoal, 75-25 wool nylon, and about 420 yards. It's bright, it's obnoxious, and I love it. So I finally scored me some lollipop. And this one's kind of all wonky, wrapped wonkily, because it was tangled up in the bowl that they had like the last. I think they had like maybe 6 or 7 balls left. And this was the only bright in that one. So there was that. And then I decided, I saw this. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But I saw this and I had to make sure I had enough for a summer top. So this is by Sheepish Knits. This is the Cavo. Is it right? Yeah, Sheepish Cavo. Let's see if you can see that. Which is a cotton silk blend. So an 85 cotton, 15 silk. And I have 4 of these. I think I've got 4 of these. So it will make a summer top. Now, just looking at it, I mean, aside from the fact that it's a cotton silk blend, just looking at it, I know that it's going to be a pain in the butt to wind. So these are going to be hand wound. I'm going to swatch for a couple of things, see if anything sticks. I'm thinking of doing the leaves top. Mrs. Shu Sarah on the Innis Knit podcast, she's doing that out of some, I think, lace weight. I don't know if she's finished it recently. I know she was aiming to finish it for the Into the Wool retreat, which is this weekend. I don't know if she did or didn't, but I saw her working on hers and went, oh, I might need to work on that. So I bought enough with that in mind and with a little bit more. So I think I could do it in 3 skeins of that, but I wanted to make sure I had enough to swatch and all that. So we'll see. We'll see, but these are going to be hand wound eventually. Yeah. Yeah, that's the scouting report. It's not too bad. I mean, it's a little, but not too bad. I'm just going to ignore the fact that it says that I'm at 47 minutes. So finally, let's go into what's making me happy this week. There have been a lot of frustrations this week. I had to reset up the internet here. We bought a new router modem combo, and it arrived yesterday, and I started installing it because I know how to do this, and it's defective. So we went out, we bought and I got that off of Amazon. So it will be, so that mess back there, that box that's open there, that will be going back to Amazon. Because I spent some money on that. I want it back. So we bought a new modem router combo from Best Buy because it's literally down the street from us. And I'm loving it. Everything's so much faster now. It's more powerful, which is nice. Everything's faster. We can have all of our wireless devices on the same network, and it's, yeah. So that definitely makes me happy, but that was an all afternoon process. I think I got started, well, not afternoon, evening. I think I got started on it a little after 5. That sounds about right. Because I was on a chat until about 5. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. So I got started on it almost immediately after. So a little after 5. After doing the first modem router didn't work, even with going to Best Buy and coming back, I probably still had everything set up and had called Comcast and got everything fixed by 6-ish. Now that wasn't too bad. But One of the reasons that I did that was because we have TiVo here. We decided not to use the Comcast boxes because I hate them, and I love my TiVo box. But for some reason, one of the TiVo wireless adapters wasn't working. It just stopped talking to the network. And I had them set up so that way the two worked off of the same network and they were compatible. Well, that didn't so much work. And so when we changed our router, I had to actually reconfigure those, which ended up being much more of a process. Now that it's done and I've got it set up, I'm good. But doing the first one was no problem. I was like, oh, I can just pair them because I've got the button on this one and the button on this. And so mine out here worked perfectly. But when I originally set them up, this one was the main one out here, and the one in the back room, so in the second living room, that was the one that read from the main one. So it was part of its own little network, and that just stopped working, and I couldn't get it to work. And I'd been working on this problem for like the past week, where it just stopped talking, couldn't get any information on the grid. I mean, it's cable, so it was going through and you could still watch TV, but you know. So it took a while to get that set up, and finally I had to set it up as its own entity. And it's happy now. But even so, when you do something like that, if you have a TiVo, I know this is more than you ever wanted to hear about. It's got to load all the information. So it's got to talk with the cable provider, download the information for the grid, blah, blah, blah. Well, it hadn't done that last night, and there was a lot of frustration going on. Lots and lots of frustration going on about that, and I've realized that it just needed another night to talk. So everything's working now. I'm being hailed as a genius, I think. I better be. But yeah, so that's working. That's finally making me happy, but it's been a huge stress over the last week too. I has a sad because I missed one of my favorite events. My friends do this event that we called Pork Off, where all the guys cook a pork dish and the girls vote which one is the best. So I missed that yesterday due to this whole router issue and everything. I knew I was going to miss it. It made me sad. But seeing all the posts on Facebook, that actually, I was like, ooh, okay, that looks delicious. Now people need to start getting me recipes. But on the really good plus side, well, I had a couple of really good plus sides yesterday. I started 2 new classes yesterday. One was toe-up socks and the other was beginning knitting. They are both very small classes, which is kind of nice. I can give tons of individual attention to them. But they both went really, really well. I have knitting geniuses in those classes. Just saying. So that was good. And then I rushed home yesterday because Ellie, formerly of the Ellie's Knit Insanity podcast, her birthday was Friday. And Dave, her best friend, the ever wonderful Dave, he put together a group of us to do a web chat with her. So to surprise her, and it was a surprise. So she thought that she was actually going to be chatting with Kristen Vullenvine, and she got the people that could be on. She got Kristen, she got Laura from Jinx Yarns, she got Cece and Damaris from Geeky Girls Knit, and me. So, and this was the first time I'd ever talked to any of those people. Like, I think the only person I didn't watch was Laura from Jinx. That's going to change. Just saying. but it was really a lot of fun to do. I'd never done a Google Hangout before, and I had so much fun. We got on at about like a little after 3, so I guess 3:15 or so. And as we all got on, it was a surprise. It was a complete surprise to Ellie. It was awesome. And so I got to actually see and talk to her and other podcasters in real time. And so we were all knitting and we shared what we knit, and we were just talking and getting to know one another. And I had the most fun. Ellie, I hope you did too. Dave, thank you for putting that together, and I will do it again anytime. I had so much fun. I loved seeing you both. I loved meeting Kira. Um, I know Neve was in bed and Kim didn't want to go be on, but I send my love to all of you. Yeah. So there was that. I mean, that's my happy right now. Other things that are making me happy, it's just a couple weeks till maybe 3-ish. A little over 3 weeks. I'm looking at the date. Till the first camping trip of the season, and my best friend is coming out for that, and we're driving down from here to North Carolina to hang out with some of our friends and act stupid all weekend and have fun. So I can't wait for that. I get to see my bestie, and I get to go be stupid in the woods. And then just a couple months after that is my favorite camp out of the year, the one that I celebrate my birthday at. So, yay. But yeah, I think that's about it. I actually am teaching this afternoon, and I wanted to get this recorded before I went to teach. I teach at 2, so I'm probably going to leave within 45 minutes or so. It's 12 now. I like to get down there and give myself time to run grab a soda or whatever. Find parking, because parking on a Sunday isn't always easy in Old Town. And get set up if there's a classroom available for me. If both of them aren't being used, get set up in one of the classrooms and just keep going. So I have got a beginning knitting class. They are going to learn to purl this week. So I get to see how they did with their knitting. So I've got 2 beginning knitting classes going on at the same time. I get to see how their knitting's going. Their homework this week was to knit a few rows every night. I didn't care if they ripped everything out and started over again, because I will be able to tell. But yeah, so I get to see that, and then I get to teach them how to purl, and then they'll be doing stockinette for the next week and getting used to the knitting and the purling. So, yay! I love making new knitters. And before I forget, I was like, oh, I have it up on the screen behind the software. Oh, this is an hour. It's just going to have to be. There were 2 more questions from Monica in her first question in the Ask Me Anything thread. And please feel free to ask me anything. I'm happy to answer anything. I kind of like that. I like the rapport back and forth. So the questions that I did not answer last time were, what is your absolute favorite yarn to knit with and your favorite fiber to spin with? It's a little hard to answer. My favorite fiber to spin with, I think so far, has been Polworth. Everybody says that you should learn on BFL or something like BFL when you're first starting to spin. Well, I couldn't spindle spin with BFL to save my life. I can do it now, but I couldn't do it when I was first trying to learn to spindle spin. I guess I've always liked the slipperier yarns, because I remember one year at Sheep and Wool, at Maryland Sheep and Wool, I bought a spindle and like an ounce of merino silk top from Misty Mountain, I think it was. Don't know where that went, but I had the most fun spinning that. It was ugly, it was uneven, but I did it. And I found that it was super easy. But if I tried with BFL, it was really frustrating. Well, fast forward a few years to when I got my bug. One of the first things that I tried was a BFL, and I wasn't really digging it. I didn't understand the whole drafting thing. I mean, I was teaching myself everything, but I was kind of like, all right, did I make the right decision? I just spent a lot of money on this wheel, and did I make the right decision? And I pulled out a braid of Highland Handmaids in the, I can't remember what the colorway was, but it was a Polworth. I believe it was 100% Polworth. And I spun that. I spun that up like nobody's business, and it is beautiful. I mean, it's a standard beginning spinner's yarn, or what you make when you're, but I loved every bit of it. I loved how it felt. I loved the look of it. Was it anything that I would knit with normally? No, but I loved it, and I had the most fun spinning it. So I think that that's probably my favorite fiber to spin with. Favorite yarns to knit with, there are so many. I love individual dyers and bases that they use. I gotta say, when it comes to sock yarn, I love good bouncy, generally 80-20 or 75-15. I will gravitate towards the 80-20 merino nylon or BFL nylon. I'm trying to think. So, like this Gloucester base, I'm like, it's right here. I can use it. I can use it for demonstration purposes. So it is a 2-ply. I do like the plied yarns. So it's a 2-ply, and it's really super squishy and bouncy. And that's what I like when I'm working with sock yarn. Does that mean that I don't like other sock yarn? No. The base for, let's see if I can get the end to this, for the Knitter's Nightmare is different. Not different bad or different good, just different. It's a much more tightly spun yarn. And I like that. I liked how this felt. I don't generally like how this feels. This is where my dirty little secret is that the old put up of Lorna's Laces, shepherd sock. I am going to qualify this with the old put up, because I've not used it in a long time. I have a ton of it. I don't like the hand. I don't like how it feels in my hand. I don't mind the socks that it makes, but it's not my favorite to knit with. I have a lot of Lorna's because I love the colors, but I just haven't used them, which is a little sad, but now now that they're putting them up in much bigger put-ups, and I know that they've changed a few things, I'd probably like it better. But yeah, so I mean, that kind of gives you an idea of, like with sock yarn, I really like to have some bounce in my yarn. I like to have that feeling of squishy. I think it'd probably be easier to say what I don't like to knit with, but even then. But yeah, give me one of my favorite things that I've ever knit with was a Falkland silk blend. It was gorgeous. It was luscious. Give me that any day of the week, as long as somebody else is buying it, because it's expensive. Yeah. I could knit a sweater or two out of that, and I'd wear it proudly. things that I'm looking forward to spinning my jumbo fibery tribbles that I got at the homespun yarn party from Kate of Gourmet Stash because of the Kiviot that's in there. Kiviot top that's in there. I can't wait to spin those. So I don't know. I think that might be next on the wheel. I don't know though, because I've got so much that I really should be getting through. I'm not allowing myself to spin anything from Maryland Sheep and Wool yet, so I need to get something else on and off the wheel. I really need to knit with some of the stuff that I've spun. But anyway, so that's kind of the down and dirty on that. It kind of answered your question, but kind of didn't. Sorry. Anyway, if you guys have any questions, please put them in the Ask Me Anything thread. Sorry, I have not turned that off. So, yeah, I look forward to hearing from you on questions. And now that we're over an hour, and even though I'm going to cut out a couple of bits here and there, like where I had a coughing fit, thank you guys so much for joining me. I will see you next time. Knit, spin, crochet, and stitch on. Bye.